Just a few years ago, YBN Nahmir was one of the hottest up-and-coming rappers in the game. He first went viral with the track Rubbing Off the Paint and was part of a successful collective with his homies YBN Cordae and Almighty Tjay. But now the YBN group is finished and Nahmir is struggling to keep a fan base. To make matters worse, he's now being accused of switching from GD to Crip. Here's what's going down. Unlike most rappers, YBN Nahmir ain't come up hustling in the streets. He started out as a young kid who played a lot of GTA and freestyle for his friends online, and music wasn't something he took seriously. But all that changed after he linked up with Almighty Tjay. Almighty Tjay was just another dude who joined the Xbox Live party Nahmir was in. They ain't even get along at first, and Nahmir later said that the first real rap he ever recorded was a diss track against Tjay. Tjay sent his own diss track at Nahmir within a day, and from then on, they had mutual respect for each other and eventually became close friends. This eventually led to Nahmir and Tjay forming the Young Boss Nigga Collective, or YBN, with a bunch of their homies in 2014. At the time, there was a lot of people repping YBN, but Nahmir, Tjay, and Cordae became the faces and stars of the group. But even after YBN was formed, none of them was really focused on music. In 2015, Nahmir and Tjay released their first official track, Hood Mentality, but it barely got any views. They kept releasing music on YouTube and SoundCloud for the next couple of years, but nothing that really popped off like that. So it sounded like music was just a hobby for them. But then in 2017, their lives changed overnight. Nahmir dropped the track Rubbing Off the Paint in September 2017, and when he woke up the next day, it had over 50,000 views. In one night, it became his hottest track by far. Then a couple days later, World Star Hip Hop posted a music video on their YouTube channel and took it to a whole new level. As of today, Rubbing Off the Paint has over 200 million views on YouTube. With this one song, Nahmir put himself and YBN on the map. He got so popular so fast that he had to drop out of high school and start taking online classes. Overnight, the YBN crew went from a bunch of kids playing video games together to an actual hip-hop collective with a Billboard charting song. In May 2018, Nahmir, Almighty Tjay, and Cordae all performed together for the first time at Rollin' Loud. That same year, Nahmir was listed on XXL's freshman class, and the three of them performed again at the freshman show in New York. Nahmir was the first one to pop off, but Cordae started making big moves of his own. Juice WRLD brought him on his North American World Domination Tour, then the YBN crew announced a month-long European tour right after. Nahmir, Almighty Tjay, and Cordae was taking over the game. Out of nowhere, these three dudes who met on Xbox Live was performing shows all over the world. But that kind of overnight success rarely lasts forever, and the good times ain't last for long. In 2019, Cordae took his career to the next level. He was named on the 2019 XXL freshman class, then earned a Grammy nomination for his solo album, The Lost Boy. Nahmir was still dropping music, but nothing that came close to his earlier hits. Cordae, Nahmir, and Tjay released their YBN mixtape a year earlier, but out of the three of them, Cordae was the only one who was still building momentum in the industry. Then in 2020, things really fell apart for the group. Cordae and Almighty Tjay both decided to drop YBN from their names, and in August 2020, Nahmir tweeted, "They left this YBN shit in the gutter. Remember that. I'll turn it up myself." Nahmir was obviously hurt about how everything went down, but Cordae said in an interview with Tidal that it was all still love.
Nahmir and Tjay, like, those always gonna be my brothers. You know what I'm saying? In real life, like, those are my brothers. Like, I think the world of them cats. You know what I'm saying? And you know, sometimes as friends, you grow apart and you have like different visions for what you want to do, and that's okay, because it's no love lost. Like I said, I think the world of them. You know what I'm saying? I love Nahmir and Tjay to death.
Nahmir took the breakup of YBN pretty hard. In November 2020, he tweeted, "After my album, I really just want to be done. Tired of fake teams, weak-ass conflict of interest, everything. I'm gonna give y'all the best music ever, then I'm gone." Later, he said he was just playing, but everyone knew that was cap. Around the same time, Nahmir was getting trolled by fans on Twitter for posting ads on Instagram. Nahmir was pushing some kind of wealth building course, and fans said he was really struggling. Nahmir responded by claiming he gets paid $5K per post and said, "Who wouldn't make a simple Instagram post for $5,000? I guess I'm broke, guys. Stay blessed, child." Nahmir was having a hard time in 2020, but when 2021 came around, it seemed like everything was cool again. He was hyping up the release of his debut album and was spreading good vibes about Cordae and Almighty Tjay in interviews. Then, in February 2021, he went on No Jumper and explained how the breakup wasn't because there was issues in the group, but people from outside was taking advantage of him. During that interview, Nahmir made it clear that he still had love for Tjay and Cordae.
It feels so good just to know they winning at the end of the day. Like, know they providing for their family, know they doing the right things, keeping their head out of the bullshit.
Around the same time, Almighty Jay called out their manager for taking advantage of him. He posted on Instagram, "This James McMillan is a fraud. He signed to janky deals and f him over. Nobody know nothing about the shit we go through on a daily basis being signed to this because we covered for this ass. I'm done with this shit." Then he said, "Trademarking the YBN name behind backs. Assign me a lawyer he used to be engaged to without telling me. Shaking my head. Took advantage of some kids, bro." Corday later backed up the claims that someone on the outside was responsible for him dropping YBN from his name. He told Genius that since none of them own the YBN trademark, he can't be talking to kids about ownership and all it is when we pushing this brand that we don't even own. He also said that he called Nahmir up before making a decision. "It ain't nothing against Nahmir and Jay. Before I came to the conclusion that I was gonna drop the 3 letters, I called Nahmir and I asked for his blessing." Even though Corday and Jay wasn't repping YBN no more, it seemed like everything was cool between them and Nahmir. But after Nahmir dropped his debut album in March 2021, everything went downhill fast. In a couple of months, he went from showing love to Almighty Jay in interviews to wanting to get in the ring with him and box. When Nahmir first popped off with Rubbing Off the Paint, a lot of fans thought he had potential to be a star. But just 3 years later, his first album only sold 4,000 copies in his first week. Bad sales are one thing, but Nahmir got dragged for the quality too. 6 months after its release, the track Soul Train had 405,000 dislikes on YouTube, which is 55,000 likes. Then a couple months later, Nahmir and Jay started taking shots at each other on social media. According to Jay, he and Nahmir was beefing for 2 years over some money. Jay posted a video explaining the situation.
An incident ended up like occurring like with some I used to be cool with. They end up doing something, and Nahmir ended up like getting caught up in it somehow, like what they end up doing. Mind you, I ain't cool with the no more that the incident had happened. I end up paying 30,000. And Nahmir ended up paying 10. A couple months go by after the incident, or a month or so go by. Me and him ain't talked none of that.
Nahmir allegedly wanted Jay to pay him for the 10 bands he put up, but obviously, Jay wasn't trying to pay the whole bill. Eventually, the situation got so heated that Nahmir and Jay tried to set up a boxing match to settle it. Jay said, "I might as well get paid to beat his ass, and I want to do it in front of everybody." Nahmir shot back and told him, "I've been trying to beat your ass, just like I beat your mans and them up. When y'all see Cuz hurt with all them black guys, they ain't hit Cuz with bottles this time." Nahmir is referencing the time Jay was attacked in New York back in 2019. Jay had bottles broken on him, then the attacker stabbed and stomped on him before they snatched his money and chains. Having beef with your homies is one thing, but Jay almost died that night. So Nahmir bringing it up like that was a low blow. But later, Jay told DJ Academics that he would never actually hurt him. According to him, Nahmir was just putting on a tough guy act and trying to portray himself as some kind of street dude. Jay told him, "You know what I fear for him? I fear that this gonna end up doing something to try and prove himself to the world that he's so tough that he's gonna end up in jail for doing some dumbass shit." Jay and Nahmir was taking shots back and forth for a while, but then Jay dropped some crazy news. Nahmir has claimed for years that he's a Crip. Back in November 2019, he even tweeted, "I'ma keep it gangsta, but I'm always with my Crips." But during the Instagram live session, Almighty Jay reveals an old photo showing Nahmir repping GD. Switching gangs ain't something that just happens, and this picture just backs up Jay's claim that Nahmir is putting on the front to look tough. The situation calmed down after this. The boxing match never happened, and both of them seemed to just move on. In January 2022, Nahmir showed off a bunch of diamond YBN chains on Instagram and wrote, "2022, come join the winning team." It looked like he was trying to restart YBN and bring in new artists, but it wasn't long before someone else called him out for switching gangs. In February 2022, Nahmir was on an IG live session with a rapper named Jace and another dude. Jace kept on pressing Nahmir about switching from GD to Crip, and at first, he was just dodging the question. But Jace ain't let up and said, "Alright, I'ma let you talk. How you went from GD to Crip?" And this is where Nahmir put the nail in his own coffin. Jace and the other dude on the live session paused to let Nahmir explain himself.
"How I went from GD to Crip, it happened."
There is no way on Vadu. There is no way.
You joking? Bro, you didn't even.
Christ, there is no way you just said. He just admitted.
YBN Nahmir is a high-profile artist who's been claiming Crip for years, and all he had to say about the situation was, "It happened." He could have just denied it or kept his mouth shut, but admitting to switching gangs on live basically confirmed that he was never really about that life. Nahmir was mocked like crazy for the live session, but come to find out, he's been dealing with even bigger issues in his personal life. In March 2022, he revealed in a series of tweets that he's been battling alcohol addiction for the past 3 years. He told his fans, "Alright y'all, I feel like it's best for me to just get this out of my system. For 3 years I've been struggling with an alcoholic addiction. I've changed so much due to it and not in the right ways. I've pushed so many of my loved ones away and the people I care about because of it. If you're struggling with an addiction, it's best to seek help. That's all I'm trying to do. I used to think this was just some normal shit until I realized I'm not the same anymore. Shit is one of the worst feelings ever. Blowing up overnight can be life-changing in a lot of ways, and not all of them are good. Nahmir went from a normal high school kid making GTA videos to a world touring rapper in the blink of an eye, and his success came with consequences. Hopefully, Nahmir can get the help he needs to beat his addiction. He's only 22 years old with a lot of potential. He clearly has musical talent, but at this point, fans are tired of the fake street persona. If he gets his life under control and stops burning bridges with his homies, he could easily make a comeback and rebuild his career.